Today, we have the honor to speak to a two-time Super Bowl champion. Sebastian Vollmer is our guest. Hi, Sebastian.
Hi, how are you guys?
Yeah, great. We are talking to you, so it's a great day. Can you tell us a little bit more about your past with American football? How did you start playing? You have a past with the Düsseldorf Panthers, so maybe let's tell a little bit about that.
Sure. So I'm going to keep it brief because it's a longer story. But yes, I was born and raised in Germany, in Düsseldorf. I started with soccer, probably like any European or German kid. Swimming as well. Ended up leaving the soccer club, but concentrating on swimming, and it was a great sport for me. Loved it. Loved the competitiveness. What I didn't enjoy was, I mean, it sounds a little dramatic, but the loneliness. You know, you're by yourself in the water with your thoughts, and you know, what the part I loved was what you put in, you're gonna get out, right? You train a lot, you do the right things, and hopefully, you know, it works out. If it doesn't, you probably did something wrong. Obviously, talent and all those things matter too. But again, it's a sport where you try to define yourself. Team sport, you know. Now going back to football, or going forward to football, there are a lot of Hall of Famers that have never won a Super Bowl, right? So it kind of depends on the team you're with. And I was about 16, maybe 17, I would say. I was at the in school in Neuss, and a friend of mine in a different class asked me if I wanted to try football. I mean, I had some exposure to like NFL Europe. I watched the Rhine Fire in Düsseldorf and those things, but I didn't know much about it. So I went, loved it, but they were in the off-season workout. So there was no football being taught or played. It was just, you know, they were next to the big stadium. It's called Kleine Kampfbahn, and they were running. There were probably 120 kids, young men. And they were doing like different teamwork type of exercises. And I loved it. I mean, and I think the coaches liked me just because I was tall. I was 2 meters, right? 6'8". And back then I was 16 and probably weighed, I don't know, 225 pounds, something like that. And they were just like, he doesn't know what he's doing, but we can probably do something, right? You can do something with that guy. And I love the sport. But again, so what really triggered it was the team aspect of it, right? Just the again, dramatic, but bleeding for the common goal, right? You put in the sweat and tears, and in the end, you want to win. And was lucky enough that Düsseldorf was, you know, had great coaches. Like Steffen Breuer was the head coach, and all his supporting staff was extremely engaged, and they were really as professional as you could imagine at that youth level, especially 20 years ago. And none of them were paid, and they all put in, you know, we had trained 3-4 times a week plus the games, and you know, they supplied us with oranges and whatever stuff you need during tape and all those things. We didn't pay for that, and I'm sure somebody did. I have a feeling a lot of coaches paid, you know, for that. Anyway, so I loved it, and it was great. And again, I was tall, I was big, I was strong. Didn't really know what I was doing, but I was lucky enough then to play for the German national team and the European All-Star team. And there I went to, and I don't know if they still have that tournament, but it was called the Global Junior Championships, which are, it's a tournament. Europe played USA, Canada, Japan, and Mexico, I believe. And I was played the week before the Super Bowl. Back then it was in San Diego. So that was like my first exposure to America, and kind of like, I would say people saw me for the first time outside of Germany. Fast forward a year.
Which year was that?
That was 2002.
Okay.
I believe it was 02. Yes. Yeah. 01 or 02. Yeah, 01 or 02. I looked up, and I was then I had one more year, and again the Düsseldorf Panther team was pretty good, and we played in Darmstadt, I believe, against Darmstadt in the German Championship game, and there I was, and there were a lot of coaches there, which I didn't realize at that point. And those guys offered me a scholarship while I was playing. I mean, really got it 2 weeks before that. I graduated from high school, and you know, there's a Abiball in German, which, you know, you enjoy yourself for that night, and it's, you know, your drinking age is a little, you know, it's you're young, you can enjoy beer when you're younger, and in Germany you don't have to be 21, so all that worked out well. However, 2 days, you know, later I had that German championship game, and anyways, I had a good game, but like in the third or fourth quarter, I can remember I had some cramps, and it was a hot summer day. But then some of the coaches came up to me and offered me a scholarship in England, and I had no idea what was happening. A scholarship didn't mean much to me since you're studying, as you know, in Germany is free, so that that didn't appeal to me per se. And then, but then I just, I don't know, I just didn't have it. Like, it was just more like a surprise, I would say. It wasn't necessarily my goal, but obviously very appreciative. But then turns out that Jeff Reinebold, who was my offensive coordinator at the Team Europe, at the European All-Star team, American, called a bunch of his buddies and said, like, hey, there's this kid, you might want to come see. So during that game, they stayed and watched me and other guys too, obviously. And they ended up giving me a scholarship, and I decided on Houston. And I did my Zivildienst, my civil service, military thing. I don't know if you explained that in American, the two Americans. And then I went to Houston, and that's kind of how it went. And did my career there, and had a bunch of injuries and so forth. And in the end, got drafted by New England Patriots. So that was kind of like my ride.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So we also talked about the IPP in this podcast a lot. Also talked to some players and stuff. And so you already said you went to the University of Houston. How difficult was that as a German native moving to the US, like starting up there? It's a lot of people don't know how hard it is actually to make it at a college football team.
Oh, it was incredibly hard. It was, like I was saying, yes, I was tall. I was, but I thought big. But I mean, you walk in there, and I mean, those are grown men. Like, I mean, they were 6'8" and 350, and I was, 6'8" and 250 on a good day, right? So I mean, I was skin and bones compared, at least. Didn't speak the language. I left everything I knew, and back then it was tough. So I always tell that story in two different ways. So when I had the chance, like, there were a lot of people that saw something in me that I didn't see, and they helped me. Like, I'm not a believer in self-made men, in I did it all myself. I'm this, I'm that. That's not what happened to me. So it's not really what I support. I'm more a believer in we are all products of our circumstances, I would say. Obviously, hard work and you get nothing given to you, though I think those are givens. But again, if I wasn't born in Dusseldorf or in another city where they had a good club team back then already, well, that wouldn't have worked. If I didn't have a good coach, if Jeff Reinebold was saying didn't call those guys, if they didn't have a scholarship to give, if I wasn't 6'8", like, I mean, there's so many things that just happened to me that at least gave me the chance to prove myself. And but it was incredibly hard. I went there and had some issues with my visa to go over there. So I missed training camp, and I was hyped as like the second coming. I was like in that newspaper, the college newspaper, was 6'8", 350, and this offensive lineman that's going to rescue the Houston Cougars. And I get off that plane. I was like, well, the guy's tall, but he is skinny. Like, I mean, this is not gonna work, right? I mean, this is not it. Well, he is not it. And that was tough. I never really trained before. Right? I was just in Germany. I was good enough. Like, again, I was tall and big, and it worked. I never really seen a weight room from the inside. Like, yeah, conditioning was good, but like, I wasn't strong. I mean, I thought I was strong, but compared to those men, really, I mean, that 19, 20-year-old, 22-year-old future NFL players, right? I mean, they have trained before. So my first practice, also off season. No, it's not true. But it was a weight room practice, and I got my butt kicked. I mean, I don't know if they were trying to make a point there, but I was like shaking in a corner for like 45 minutes, like almost blacked out. And, they were running circles around me. I was just like, I don't know if I can handle it. But on the other hand, you really grow with that, right? I mean, like, giving up was not an option. So it's like, what do you do? Like, you go home, get on a plane, and be the biggest disappointment and walk through those doors, or, you get up and train until you make it. And so I chose, or tried to choose at least, didn't know how it was going to work out. But in that moment, it was like a defining moment for me. Just like, yeah, I don't want to leave that legacy, right? Get that German kid in here, and it's not working out. So, but it was tough, incredibly tough. I mean, from like, you leave, go straight from German school, and you're living in a college, you have a little dorm, which was not good. Like, I mean, from roaches to, I mean, all of it, right? I mean, it just was not good. And over years, though, then I made some friends, and I learned the language, and I met my girlfriend future wife and kids and all those things, and worked out in a way that, you know, I couldn't have been blessed more. I didn't realize it in that moment. That sounds all terrible. Obviously, I had good times and great times and a lot of fun and a lot of success, but you know, it was a tough road, I would say. But now, sorry, that's a long answer here, but now with the IPP program, with the NFL being behind it, with so many avenues, to be scouted, to be found. We have, you know, the combine, we have the academy in London. We have so many things where from all different nations, players can be found, be trained, be supported, and have a direct path into the NFL. And obviously it has worked. I mean, just take Jakob Johnson, for example. Obviously, you know, he went from the IPP program, had this practice squad, had the practice squad spot, and Bill Belichick, Patriots head coach, decided, you know what, he's so good, I don't need to bury him like in a practice squad somewhere. I make him, you know, an active roster guy, and so he's just one, but there are many more, but just one example, and obviously he's a great dude. So anyway, so I think for the future generation, it's still tough. Obviously, it's the hardest, the best football league in the world, and it's an incredibly tough environment. However, the avenues are there. I don't think the European kids are lacking behind the Americans by size, talent, by work effort, by ethic, by let's just say like the outside forces they can control a little bit. Certainly, I think and that's happening now. Well, actually, I'm wearing that shirt. You know, NFL launched a flag football program in school, so I think we're getting younger players involved in the sport. I think that's another first step, or another step to get the grassroots going, to get the younger kids, male and female. We just had a camp in Düsseldorf, sponsored by the Patriots, but it was great. It was probably 100 kids, 50-50, and boys and girls, and they all had fun in the end, right? And so they're exposed to the sport, and who knows in 10 years where they're going to end up, right? There were some kids, I mean, they were studs for what, you know, that just picked it up a couple of weeks prior, and I mean, they loved it. And they just looked the part. Sometimes you just can, you know, you can look at a kid and just like, yeah, get a little swagger, you know, he's okay. And anyways, that was a beautiful thing to see. And so I think just as an encouragement for the younger generation, I think this is certainly heading in the right direction.
For you, the hard work paid off in the end. You got drafted in the second round by the New England Patriots. What was that experience like?
That was amazing. So while I was talking about the tough parts in college, once I hit, you know, I had surgery on my back, I broke my leg, all those things, right? And then they had some like, for me, lucky breaks, literally a break for another guy that was in front of me. He couldn't play, so I got a spot. And from then on out, I would stay the starter and never give it back up. And it's kind of what football is, right? You get your chance and you got to take advantage of it. Or any other job as well, right? I mean, once you have a chance, you got to take advantage of it, stay prepared. But so that was good. And I made all conference team and all those things. And I was okay. And then on draft day, back then we only had 2 days. Like the first and second round, I believe, was on a Saturday, and the rest of the rounds were on Sunday, on the second day. And I told myself, I'm not going to sit in front of the TV, you know, for 8 hours and hope your name is called. I'm just going to do this. Like, before that, I'll take it back. So I wasn't invited to the combine, but I had a pro day and my numbers were really good. And I was part of an all-star team, like a game, and I did pretty well there. And I had 14 pre-draft visits, which certainly, like, you talk to GMs and the owners and head coaches and, you know, all those things, and they give you an idea of where to see you if you get drafted. And I thought I was going to be a Raider, and so in my mind, I was just like, well, I'm going to go there. However, when draft day came around, I got a couple of phone calls. I was working out, and it's like, hey, is this Sebastian? Yep. You speak English? Yes, sir. Okay, bye. I mean, it was just like the last minute, you know, checkups on, I don't know, he's somewhere on the list, but some team is like, where's he from? Germany? What? Like, huh? And but again, it was like, it gives you the interest of, obviously they're still doing some research. They're still, you know, somebody just had a question. Probably some scout walked in and was like, you know, just make sure, like, cross all, you know, your T's and dot your I's and things. But then, so that day, and I was hanging out, we had a barbecue. Like, we didn't celebrate the draft at all. It was just kind of like a nice Saturday, and Houston was hot, and the day kind of went on. And some point in the afternoon, me and back then my girlfriend went to a sandwich shop. I literally just put my phone down. I ordered a sandwich, and it was an unknown number, and I didn't hear it. My girlfriend then saw it and was like, "Hey, don't you want to pick up?" I was like, "Oh shoot." Picked it up. It was Barsch, was like Bill's. I think he's heads of football operations, but in that organization with the Patriots, and he handed the phone to Bill, and we're talking. I was like, "I'll be about to draft you," and in that moment, it's just like, well, first of all, you're like, "Okay, to go. We're not eating here," but it was an incredible moment. It's just like you go from a broke college student to a professional athlete in a matter of seconds, right? Like you hang up and that's it. But then you just like, all of America is Houston, and then it's like, okay, I'm going to New England, and of course you know who and what the Patriots are, but you might not know where they are, like that they are in Foxborough or who they play, what the division is. Like NFL wasn't really like on my radar back then, at least not to that detail, and it was incredible. Like I remember like calling, obviously like your friends and whoever else sees it on TV, which I to this day have not seen. But then obviously get the phone calls. It's like, okay, let's have a party. And I feel like I'm more of a, I don't know, like I have to process information myself first before I can like go celebrate. And I remember like everybody's coming over on their way, and I make my girlfriend call. Like everybody's like, yeah, let's pump the brakes, maybe tomorrow. But in that moment, just kind of realizing again, life is going to change dramatically. And for me, it was either, hey, I go back to Germany because I had 2 degrees. I studied, graduated from college, but then I was on a student visa. That means purpose fulfilled kind of thing, meaning we have to go back, right? I mean, there was no, if you don't have a job, obviously you can stay. And so it was a very either or type of situation. And obviously it worked out great. And the next weekend I was in New England, did a rookie mini camp with a broken nose because I was so eager to prepare. So they one-on-one pass pro drills with a defensive end. Yeah, didn't have a helmet on. He broke my nose and called the Belichick like, yeah, I'm going to show up tomorrow with a broken nose if that's okay. And I mean, it was so stupid. But, and again, it was an incredible up and down of emotions. Then obviously life changed. And I realized in that moment, like looking back, there are always days where life is going to change. Nothing is going to be as it was before. And most of those, I had a few of those, and most of those were, a very positive thing. But, I think if you realize that and keep on pushing forward, I think things work out.
So you never actually played for another team besides the Patriots. Is that something that you regret, or are you rather proud of that fact? I mean, back then it was also always think about like big players also in the NBA. Like back then it was really normal to stick with your team, and now it's actually more common to change teams rather often. What do you think about that?
I mean, I love my team. I think I was incredibly lucky that and blessed. And I told Bill that, that he took a shot on me. Like, again, I think now it's a little different when I was 2009 when I got drafted, right? So the NFL landscape for international players has changed a little bit, but that he took a shot on me, right? And he spent a second round draft pick. I mean, it's not nothing. And I'm to this day very appreciative of that. And so I always had a little bit. So there was, again, going back to the story, there was always people that have done things for me or helped me reach certain milestones. And so I always also felt that. So Coach McGahee, for example, not coaching with the Giants, but he was essentially the guy that offered me the scholarship to go to Houston. And I mean, he put his neck on the line, I felt like, right? He's going out there, he's telling the AD, the athletic director, hey, there's this German kid that spent extra money because tuition is going to be more expensive if you're an out-of-state, out-of-country guy. And I didn't want to be a disappointment. I wanted to show I'm worth that, what those people are saying to others about me. And same thing with the Patriots, right? And I always felt like, okay, like, I mean, now you got to prove it. Some people are trusting you, and I wanted to deliver on that. And obviously my first rookie contract was for 4 years, and during that time I was lucky enough to go to the Super Bowl. We lost it. However, I think you realize how blessed you are, obviously playing with a guy like Tom Brady and some other greats, that it's not a given. I went through free agency and I had a chance to go somewhere else. And I told Bill though, like doing it's called negotiations, but even before it's like, hey, I don't want to leave, right? I mean, it might happen, but I don't want to, right? I just let's make this work, and you have to make me I'm not gonna break the bank here, or I want to. Like I want to let's work this out, and then in the end it did. And Tom was certainly a big part of that, and you hear from a lot of veterans, right? You always got a shot. Bill obviously is a big part of that because he always have a shot of winning, and some other great players. And luckily, well, 2 more Super Bowls after, it was the right decision because in the end, that's something that can like sticks with you, right? I mean, I've been part of 3 Super Bowls, all in different experiences. Lost one and won 2, and it's incredible. I'm so thankful, and the sport has given me so much on the life I live now, to the people I've met, and then obviously the sporting or the success in the league itself. And I think it made me a better worker. It taught me so many life lessons, the way you handle yourself on and off the field. Obviously, I'm not on the field at least to play, probably to maybe show a thing or two, but like not, those days are obviously over. But it's been an incredible journey, and I'm so blessed to be part of the Patriots organization for that long. And again, it's the only lifestyle I knew, and it was tough, no doubt, but you also win a lot. So I have nothing but good things to say about that.
You just mentioned Tom Brady really briefly. He's also coming to Munich this fall. How is he as a person, or also like a teammate?
Awesome. He's the greatest. I mean, obviously we all know what he does on the field for everyone, right? And I think what media reports about, well, he makes players better. And I think it's such a, yeah, of course he is, but so is Aaron Rodgers. So is like a lot of those, like greats. There's a level above greatness where those guys are in. But he made me another reason why I stayed. I was like, I think I'm going to have a longer career playing with that guy because, well, I think he makes me a better player. I don't have to block as long, right? If he gets rid of the ball within 2 seconds or less, well, it's certainly easier to block that long than 4 seconds. Or if he sits at 6 yards, right, or at 7 yards, easier than somebody that runs at the back of the pocket. Well, I like to know where my quarterback is. I could block the way I needed to protect them. If you have a guy, and it's not a critique, but if you have a guy like, I don't know, Aaron Rodgers, right? He runs a lot. He makes a lot of things happen. But it's also difficult for an offensive lineman. Like they get a lot of holding, not a lot. Some of them get some holding calls because, well, you don't know where the guy is. And he's so great. I mean, he makes certainly up for those difficulties, no doubt about that. Personally, and again, it's me arguing from the only point I knew, right? Like this is what I liked. And so that, but also he makes the punter better. He makes the defense better because they're probably in pass rush mode most games because we're leading by the end. If you go back to the Super Bowl we won, well, you were down by 25 points and you're still like, they're gonna make it. Like there's a confidence he instills in us, right? And it's just like, okay. Well, the first one I won was like, all right, championship drive. We score here, we win. Okay, cool. And like, yeah, then you do it. I mean, it's just such a it's called confidence maker. Like he just, well, with him, if I do my job, I know he does his. Like I don't have to worry about him delivering. Let's just make sure I do mine. And I think with that approach, that team has won a lot of games. And on a personal level, he is. I mean, he's a great friend, but he is like what you want in a friend, right? I mean, I don't know. I call him up for whatever I need, and it's not like, hey, I'm too busy. It's like, no, sure, what do you need? Like, let me know. And like he did, I was retired, he was still in training camp. He wrote the forward for a book, right? I'm like, and I got it back within like an hour. I'm like, no, I didn't mean like now, but thank you. But that's the guy he is. There's a lot of
crazy.
Yeah, it's just okay. Don't you? But and again, so nothing but good things about Tom. He's an incredible, special human being for sure.
That's really cool. So as Tiziana already said, he will be in Munich this year because he's still playing, which is insane. So
it's funny. I say that when I went through my second contract, the negotiations, that was the one point I was like, man, but if I sign another deal, like, man, if you're going to retire soon, it's like thoughts you have, and I'll retire like 4 years later and you're still playing. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So what are your thoughts on the game in Munich this year? Maybe we will also see the Patriots in the upcoming years. That would be cool. But for this year, it's the Seahawks and it's Tampa Bay. And what do you think?
I think it's great. I mean, for anybody, it's a good game. but I think for the German fans, like right now we're seeing like incredible growth in viewerships, merchandise sales, and fandom in general. We have 20 million fans in Germany, football fans, so it's a lot, but it's certainly also a lot of room to grow. And I think it's not an exhibition game, right? I mean, it's a real deal. Like it's you got to win. And I think for like if you don't look at the competition itself, just kind of what that game can do for the development of football, I think it's a great opportunity. You see a guy, I mean, obviously Tom Brady, everybody knows, and in Germany, but I probably know Giselle maybe a little better, but they do know obviously who Tom is, and him playing, him like being seen by fans in the stadium live, that's different. Like so far, most German fans have only seen it on the computer or on the TV screen, and when you see those NFL athletes, how fast they move, how hard they can hit, how big and athletic and incredible human beings they are live, it's different than on TV. On TV, sometimes they get all, because they're all big, so you have nothing really compared to, like a 6'8", 350-pound guy that runs a 4'9". The other guys run that too, so the comparison isn't there. But now if you stand there and you actually see them and you compare them to yourself, it's like, oh, like that's a wide human being. He's still faster than me and still doing a lot of things. So I think that will ignite a new appreciation. Well, not a new, well, yeah, maybe a new appreciation for the sport and what it can do. And then what I love about football is not everybody's going to become a professional athlete that loves the sport. It doesn't happen in America, so it won't happen in Germany. But I don't think that's the goal either. Like, I think some of them will, but what the sport can do compared to other sports, like to me, that Sunday is football, is community, is family, is bringing food, and you watch it at home, or you do tailgating in Munich, or you're going to be there. Like I'm going to be there the week before, you know, other teams are going to be there and celebrating with football fans. Then you go to different bars, you have events, you show your face, you do a lot of things, and you show appreciation for the fans that are there, and then hopefully show the sport to other people that have not been exposed to it yet. And so I think it's the next big step in the development of the sport overseas. Obviously, Germany is the fastest growing market, but I think we can still accelerate. Well, we will still accelerate it. And even at the current rate, it's incredible. I mean, 20% growth year over year. I mean, it's nuts. And it's only picking up. Like now with the games being played there, like you were saying, right now it's one game. Hey, who knows? Maybe in the future we're going to have more than one game, like London, right? I mean, you have 3 this year or 4 in years prior. So who knows? In Mexico City, we are like everywhere. And obviously the media, except we are talking about it. The media excitement is real. TV spots, commercials, like all those things is really, it's a big part of it. And I think it's, I mean, from sponsorship, from partnerships for commercial opportunities, youth work. I mean, the NFL makes it clear, right? We are here to stay. We are part of this community. We are not in and out. Like we're not just coming for a week, throwing a heck of a party and are gone. But no, we are here. We're supporting the community and we're staying. And I think it's an incredible commitment by the NFL and the 4 HMA teams as well. And but it can only help us, and by us I mean every football fan and everybody obviously in the NFL organization, help grow that game, and that's our goal, obviously.
We have one last question. If, let's say, you are a young German football player right now, what advice would you have as Sebastian Vollmer for him or her? If you want, let's say it's a him and he wants to become an NFL player.
So what helped me was, and I take that approach at anything that's important to me in life. I have a priority list and I rank certain things. So with football, for a long time, football was my number one. And I think if it's not, it's going to be a problem making it to the pros. But again, that doesn't necessarily need to be your goal or your reality. But however, once I had that as my number one, then everything I did was questioned. Is that going to help me get there? Or is it going to hinder me to get there? Most things hinder you. And I've missed a lot of things. Like I missed weddings. I missed funerals. I hit parties. You're not even thinking about it. Can't remember the last time I was awake at New Year's, because those things in the end don't matter if they don't help you reach that goal. But I didn't start that until probably late in college and definitely NFL. I was very, in a positive sense, I was very obsessed with that sport, obviously. And I think any player that is in that league is as well. because there's always somebody nagging at your feet trying to take your spot, and rightfully so. They're good guys coming out of college or the IPP program or wherever. So I think if you're in Germany, find a spot, find a club that's serious. I think there's some good youth work. Any program the NFL is laying out there, from the IPPs, the academies, to those, that type of help. I think it's great. I would, again, the story, it's trying to be funny about like, well, showed up and I wasn't really that big. Well, it's my own fault, right? But so you can get bigger, you can train, you can do all those things. So kind of wrap it up, I would say, again, we're all products of our circumstances. But the only thing we can control is hard work, right? God-given talent, all those things are out of our control. Hard work you can. So I think in anything you do, from learning the language, working hard in the weight room, understanding the play book, but not just your position, right? The more you understand about the game of football, the more or the better decisions you can make when it gets tough. And then, I would hate to see anybody flunk out of college or school and not being able to realize their dream of playing, right? I mean, I played with a lot of college guys. I was lucky enough, again, to graduate a couple of times, but I also had some guys that were incredible football players, just never went to class, like flunked out, didn't graduate, couldn't play, weren't eligible. So I think that, that's that. In the end, it boils down to hard work. And it doesn't matter if it's football, if it's your job. I mean, you're prepared, right? You had questions laid out, like all those things. Right? I mean, you prepare for if you want to put out a good product, and football is really no different. And I think that's a good life lesson that helped me well. And I wish I realized it a little sooner, but in the end, right, leave no stone unturned.
Well, thank you so much. That was so much fun. If you guys want to know more about Sebastian's career, then check out his books. He wrote 2 books, right?
That's right. That's right. But
check them out. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.